You're listening to the Packernet Podcast Network.
U.S. Cellular has noticed the way we use our phones has gotten ironic. We try to put our phones down for dinner, but the menu's on a QR code. That's ironic. We hit like on social posts that we don't actually like, which is ironic. Which is why U.S. Cellular created Us Mode, to help us reconnect with each other and use our phones less ironically. A phone company wanting people to use their phones less is ironic. Let's find us again with Us Mode from U.S. Cellular. Visit uscellular.com/builtforus to get started.
School is back, and Dick's Sporting Goods has what you need to win your year. We've got everything from cleats to Sambas, dunks, and more. Plus, the hottest looks from Nike, Jordan, and Adidas. Find your first day fits in-store or online at dicks.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident panelist, as always, Ryan Schlipp. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_dat. Well, the first game is officially in the books. We got football back. Yes, it's preseason. I don't care. Football action taking place. Green Bay Packers start the season the way they intend to end it, undefeated. Packers go on to beat Cleveland in Cleveland, 23-10. Browns unable to score a touchdown against this new Hafley defense until the fourth stringers essentially were out. Bunch of guys that I honestly didn't really remember their names, to be honest. Coyle, no disrespect. I forgot that you existed. But a great effort, I think, all around offense and defense. A couple things probably got to get worked on. We'll have some PFF grades tomorrow, but we do have some stats that we can look at. We got snap counts and everything. So we'll be going through that a little bit today. But overall, I think you got to be happy with what you saw. If you were with the stream, I appreciate you hanging out. You saw me have a meltdown for the first 15 minutes or so as Hulu did not carry the game, even though I get live local channels. They didn't have those channels, so I was like, well, that sucks. And then I saw Packers.com was hosting. I'm like, okay, that's fine. So I just waited there for that. Once the game started, I could actually click on it. So I clicked on it, and it was just loading and loading and loading and loading and loading. And I'm like, oh, crap, I don't have a game here. Went back and checked Hulu. Nope, nothing there. Holy crap, what am I going to do? I checked, Peacock. I'm checking everything else. How can I find this thing? I went over to Fubo. We're going to pay them $118 just to see if they had it. They wouldn't accept my credit card. It was declined for some reason. Like, this is the one I use every day. What do you mean declined? So that didn't work. Finally, fortunately, my half-Mexican attorney was there and was like, hey, go to WTMJ4 or whatever. It wasn't that. It was like something 26. I'm like, dude, I don't have that channel. If I did, I'd be watching. He's like, no, dude, it's a website. So I went to the website. I was able to find it there. Had a couple hiccups along the way, but we got it. We got the football game on. Long story shorter, I missed the frickin' Jordan Love touchdown to Dontavian Wicks. I didn't see Jordan Love throw a single pass. By the time I got the game on, it was defense and a whole lot of Sean Clifford. But was able to go back and find that on social media. Beautiful pass. Great way to end the day. I'm sure Bears fans' hearts were broken. They were so excited. Caleb looked pretty decent. We can talk about that a little bit. But then Jordan comes out, rips a touchdown, walk-off touchdown, done for the day. It is what it is, man. It's what we do. Why don't we actually start there? There's a lot of talk about Caleb Williams, and it was kind of a battle. It seems like a lot of Packer fans are going the screw him, he still sucks route. The other half are kind of going, come on now, he looked good, you're just being biased. I tend to fall a little bit more in the second category. I think he showed exactly what he showed in college, which is that special ability, right? That sort of, when the play breaks down, you can still make something happen. You saw that twice, as far as I can remember. The one was kind of a weird, awkward throw across his body to the running back. It almost ended up being a screen. I think it was an impromptu screen. When the play broke down, that was impressive. And then the one everybody will remember, running to his right. Look, I to be honest, I think most quarterbacks make the throw. I just think they would make the throw differently. You'd have to kind of plant your foot and drive it. Caleb just running normally and just kind of throw. I mean, his ability to do things at weird arm angles and stuff like Mahomes does, he has all that. But he's always had all that, and I don't think that was really my question coming in. This is my only critique, because he looked about as good as you could ask. But here's my thing, and I said this prior to. Has always been my stance. It was honestly the same as Justin Fields. Justin Fields was everything he was in college in terms of you knew he had a lot of arm strength. You knew he ran 1,000,000 miles an hour. He was able to run all over, and you saw that, and it hurt us a lot. He never beat us. But there were a lot of times he'd rip off these 60-yard touchdowns or whatever, and it sucked. You have to deal with that. And we're going to have to deal with Caleb. He's going to do some stuff that it's like, dang it, if he didn't have that special ability, we could have got him, or that wouldn't have happened. Here's the thing. Same as Justin Fields, though. You have to prove you're a quarterback. And I know that sounds weird because Caleb's strength is more of a throwing strength, whereas Justin's was more of a rushing strength. But it still comes down to the exact same thing as Justin Fields. Can you stand in the pocket, diagnose the defense, find the open guy, throw it on time and in rhythm? He didn't do that as far as I can tell. For the most part, what he was doing is he would stand there. I mean, find me a pass he threw in under 2.5 seconds. Maybe there is one. I don't know. It was a lot of standing there and looking and looking and looking. And Justin Fields did that a lot too. And you're like, I don't know if nobody's open or what the situation is, but he wouldn't find anything and then he'd break the pocket. And for Justin, it was a matter of he could take off and run and hurt you. For Caleb, it's a matter of as the play breaks down, he can find a way to get the ball somewhere and hurt you. It's still there. But if you can't be the guy that can just, like I said with Mahomes and everybody else and Jordan and Rodgers and the guys that are able to do those types of plays, the off-platform things, that's cool because you can make plays when things break down and some quarterbacks can't do that. But what you have to do is be Tom Brady. Everybody has to be Tom Brady. Everybody needs to be able to just be a wizard in their brain. Get the ball, boom, distribute. It's not pretty, it's not sexy, it's robotic. And Jordan has that, right? We focus too much on the special. I said this about Jordan last year, by the way. So I'm not just being biased. This is exactly what I said about Jordan. And that's why I said he's either going to be elite or he's going to be garbage. Because he has that Mahomesian ability to do those kind of crazy things. Maybe not as well as Mahomes, maybe not as well as Caleb, but he has that ability. But I don't care about that. I need to see you stand in the pocket and just distribute. And the most excited I got about Jordan was in the Eagles game because that's what he did in that game. It was just pop, 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 pop. And it was on time, in rhythm. It was anticipation. So that's what I'm watching for Caleb. Everybody else wants to see the highlights. It was the same with Justin. They want to see the highlights. They want to see the flashy. And that's what's going to show up on SportsCenter and everything else, and it's going to make everybody declare he's great. This is what we always knew about Caleb. What we don't know is if he can be a quarterback. So that's what we're waiting for. That's what I'm waiting for. You look for whatever you want, but that's the thing he's going to have to be. So if he can do that, we're probably in a lot of trouble. I don't mean like we can't win because we got a pretty good situation over here as well. But, I mean, look, it's going to be a scary team. If he can't, they're going to suck. And that's just the way that's going to go. The Lions also did have a preseason game. There wasn't a ton to take away from that. I did check out their cornerbacks. They got Ennis Rakestraw, who I like a lot, and then Terry and Arnold. Arnold graded out as so-so. Ennis Rakestraw graded out quite highly. So, I mean, take from that what you will. I don't really know. The Vikings did everything, but I don't have their grades yet, so we can look a little bit closer at JJ, although, again, I don't care. I really don't think he plays this year. JJ McCarthy I'm talking about. A lot of Vikings fans, or just everybody in general, is like, well, Darnold sucks, so JJ will take over. Maybe, but I think the Vikings, maybe not, are trying to be smart. And they're essentially just going to ride out Darnold. This is, let me tell you what the smart thing to do is. You ride out Darnold even if he sucks. In fact, you almost hope he sucks because then you get higher draft capital. You let JJ sit and learn. It's not about putting your best quarterback out there this year. It's about building the best quarterback you can in JJ McCarthy. Darnold's not your future. And 2024 is not going to be the year that you do anything. So why would you rush JJ McCarthy out there? There's zero reason. I don't care if Darnold is the worst quarterback in football. You let him play. Who gives a crap? You don't ruin JJ McCarthy. You have to protect him. You shield him. If you want to go get a different quarterback, get a different quarterback, but it's not going to be JJ McCarthy. That's the smart thing to do. That's what you need to do. Are the Vikings going to do that? I don't know. I kind of hope not. I hope that he plays so well in the preseason and Darnold plays so crappy in the preseason that they push him out there too early. He has a lot of growing pains, a lot of issues, and it just never materializes because he starts to get up in his own head and gets the quarterback yips and everything else. That would be the stupid thing to do. That would be what I'm rooting for, but I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to be smart, and I think he's going to sit all year. Anyways, that's the NFC North roundup that I have for you. On the injury front, unfortunately, we didn't get out completely unscathed. As of right now, to my knowledge, there was one injury. I believe it to be minor, but you never really know. Marshawn Lloyd, rookie running back, did have, apparently coming into the game, this is my understanding of the situation, we don't have official word. Coming into the game, he had kind of a lingering hamstring issue. I don't think they were going to give him a pretty heavy workload. He had a really nice, I think it was his only carry of the game. We'll get into the stats in a minute, but as far as I remember, and pretty decent play. He's heading up the middle, sees some problems, has to break. So there's a lot of like quick twitch stuff. There's somebody in his face, he's got to bounce to the outside. Somebody in his face again, he bounces again. He's able to get around the corner, grab a few yards that shouldn't have been there. Not a bad run. Well, he kind of tweaks something a little bit. And in his words, it's kind of a minor thing. He kind of felt it acting up and was like, all right, enough is enough. But who knows? Hamstring things are kind of tricky. And, we'll see. Let me grab a couple quick quotes for you. Say that 10 times fast. Couple quick quotes. Matt LaFleur commented on it. Apparently, he says, I think he had 2 touches and then he goes out. That's disappointing, Packers coach Matt LaFleur said via Zach Cruz of USA Today. He's going to have to get healthy because we've seen what he's capable of doing in practice, but you just like to see it in a real game. And honestly, I would say, again, just reading the tea leaves here, that's somewhat encouraging. It sounds like they're really impressed with him and want him. My whole theory is it's possible he ends up getting a redshirt year. It sounds to me like Matt LaFleur is a little disappointed because he'd like to have an excuse to give him a more prominent role, but is not going to be able to if he doesn't get more opportunities. And that's kind of in line with what I've been saying of, he's got to prove it, because if he's hurt through most of this process or all of this process, he will essentially redshirt. They're not going to build game plans around him. They're not going to give him a prominent role in any of these games pending any injuries. It's going to be Josh Jacobs, then A.J. Dillon, and who knows, possibly even Emmanuel Wilson on top of him. Now, this isn't long-term. I'm just talking about for this year. The next year, he comes back healthy, gets a more prominent role. Dillon's probably not here. He's the number 2 guy, depending on how Josh Jacobs does. Possibly could even be thrust into the number 1 role, whatever. But, again, just reading that quote again, he says he's going to have to get healthy because we've seen what he's capable of doing in practice, but you'd just like to see it in a real game, right? It's like, I know he can do it. We got to see it. And again, and the limited action that he had probably was due to the lingering injuries to begin with. And then he gets, according to Matt LaFleur, 2 carries and has to come out right away. Quote from Lloyd, he says, I've had hamstrings before, so I'll just rehab and get back as fast as I can. Again, very optimistic sounding, but who knows, man? Who knows? I mean, I think the only good thing is he didn't do anything crazy. I didn't see him limping off the field. I think it was a matter of he felt it kind of cramping up, took himself out, and hopefully before any serious damage was done, can kind of get it all stretched out and get back in action. But I guess we'll see. We'll just see how it goes. Fingers crossed, because I'm excited about the guy. All right, I tell you what, let's take an early break so that we can rip through some of the stats coming up next. And then we'll do a little bit of the snap counts, et cetera, et cetera. We'll see what's going on. Also got the PFF recap highlighting Packers' best player, And might get out of here a little bit early because a little bit short on time, but I want to obviously make sure that we cover this and highlight especially the guys that deserve it. So we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. U.S. Cellular has noticed the way we use our phones has gotten ironic. We try to put our phones down for dinner, but the menu's on a QR code. That's ironic. We hit like on social posts that we don't actually like, which is ironic. Which is why U.S. Cellular created Us Mode, to help us reconnect with each other and use our phones less ironically. A phone company wanting people to use their phones less is ironic. Let's find us again with Us Mode from U.S. Cellular. Visit uscellular.com/built-for-us to get started.
This episode is brought to you by our good friends at NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV. I'm sure by now you've all gotten back into your Sunday routines, but they could be even better. With NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV, you get the most live NFL games all in one place, every game, every Sunday. And you can even watch up to 4 different games at once with Multiview, one of my favorite inventions of this decade. It's exactly what you need to catch all the action, make your Sundays more magical. And also, YouTube TV is great. I got it this year. It's awesome. Sign up now at youtube.com/BS. Device and content restrictions apply. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games excludes digital-only games.
When it comes to towing, seeing is believing. That's why Chevy Truck's advanced camera technology offers up to 8 available cameras for 14 unique views, so you can focus on the view that really matters. Chevrolet, together let's drive. Learn more about Chevy Trucks at Chevy.com. Safety or driver assistance features are no substitute for the driver's responsibility to operate the vehicle in a safe manner. Read the vehicle owner's manual for important feature limitations and information.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Actually, why don't we start with the old recap here? So PFF and their thoughts on the game, essentially. Let's read through that. I'm just so happy that we're doing this because it's one of the things that feels robotic and lazy when you're just reading other people's work, but at the same time, it's good stuff to go through on the podcast. But I also just love it because you only do this after a game, which means football's back. So PFF every week has kind of a instant reaction thing, right? They have to go through with the fine-tooth comb all the grades. Somebody pre-grades it, then somebody else reviews the grades, et cetera, et cetera. But they want to get kind of a quick idea. So they're looking at some preliminary grades and everything else, so they kind of have an idea of everything that happened. They have at least the snap counts, et cetera, et cetera. It says, Green Bay Packers preseason started the same way the regular season ended last year, with a win. That's funny. I swear I didn't read that before I did my little thing. Packers largely dominated the Cleveland Browns in front of their home fans. It doesn't matter because it's preseason, but come on. That doesn't feel awesome. just dominated them in front of their home stupid fans. It didn't take Packers quarterback Jordan Love long to show he's ready to build off his blistering end of the 2023 season, uncorking a beautiful pass to Dontavian Wicks that resulted in a 65-yard touchdown. Love only played 2 series, finishing 2 of 3 for 63 yards and a touchdown. By the way, my favorite part about that, and I want to see it from a different angle, I saw one time that play from behind the line of scrimmage rather than from the sideline cam that we normally get. You can get maybe see it quickly on the sideline cam, but if you see it from behind, the best part of that, I mean, I don't know if it's the best part. There's a lot of good parts. Dontavian Wicks does, and a lot of receivers do this, but this is a Devontae Adams thing. Dontavian Wicks gets shoulder to shoulder with this guy and points up at the air, essentially saying, I'm open, throw it. He's not open. Right? I saw there was a Bears fan on there like, throw into a wide open receiver like normal, which, by the way, if Bears fans, you guys have a terrible habit of trying to insult Packer fans by complimenting them. If your argument is the wide receivers constantly get open because they're so freaking good and Jordan Love just has to throw to wide open receivers all the time, or Matt LaFleur's such a wizard, bro, it doesn't hurt my feelings. I'm sorry to tell you. Like, I mean, first of all, you're stupid and wrong about Jordan Love, and that's just not even accurate. Well, in Wicks' case it is because he's a freak wide receiver. But it's just not hurting my feelings, bro. But shoulder to shoulder. Oh, anyway, so he said the guy was wide open. He wasn't open by the time Jordan Love threw it. If you look at when Jordan threw it, he was maybe even with the corner, maybe not even past him yet. That, by the way, is exactly what I said Caleb needs to do. That's exactly what I said excited me about Jordan Love when I started seeing that stuff. When I'm seeing him throw way before a guy's open, exactly where it needs to be because he's anticipating. It's my favorite. By the way, that's why I liked Pratt so much. I looked for guys that had that sort of vision, that anticipation, and Pratt was that dude. He was my number one guy. We got him. He looks awesome. Shove it, world. But yeah, Dontavian Wicks points up at the air, basically giving him the throw it, I'm open sign. Before he's even open, Jordan throws it when they're shoulder to shoulder. By the time the ball gets there, he's 5 yards ahead of the guy. I mean, just it's everything. It's Jordan seeing it. By the way, he had to be looking there first because they knew. They knew there wasn't going to be a safety over the top. They knew something. I don't know what it was. And Dontavian Wicks was on the same page because as soon as he got shoulder to shoulder, he's like, bro, I'm open. So he knew. He knew the the defensive play and everything else that was going on. He knew that there was, that I'm going to be open. So everybody being on the exact same page, not to mention Matt LaFleur calling the exact right play and calling it for a reason, and Jordan and Dontavian understand that reason. They both read the defense. They both have anticipation. And by the way, Wicks ran a great route. Jordan threw a great ball. Everything about it was so unbelievably perfect. It's like, oh, he's wide open guy for a touchdown. Okay, you can simplify it that way if you want, but when you dissect it, it gets you a little bit excited. Anyways, continuing on. PFF's dedicated team of graders was hard at work analyzing every player on every play in real time. The grades and data will be available after a thorough review tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. In the meantime, we've gathered some high-level data and snap counts from the game to give you an early look. Our expert graders have also nominated the standout player of the game, highlighting exceptional performance on the field. Who is that player, you might ask? Packers edge defender Lucas Van Ness. By the way, if you asked me to give out a game ball, I'd probably have to give out like 17. There's so many guys I'm excited about. It's not hard to see why Lucas Van Ness is one of them, though. He was an absolute force. Whether it was first string, second string, or third string, he was out there a ton, and he just ripped things apart. He held the edge real well. He's bringing constant pressure. Anyways, that's me talking. Let's get back to PFF real quick. It says, Packers edge defender Lucas Van Ness showcased the talent that made Green Bay draft him with the 13th overall pick in the 2023 NFL Draft on Saturday. The second-year defender recorded 4 pressures and 2 more pass rush wins for an impressive 28.4 pass rush win rate across 14 pass rush snaps. So, essentially what that's saying is 14 times he tried to beat the guy across from him, and 28.4% of the time he beat the guy across from him. Whether that actually turned into a pressure or whatever is a separate stat. We'll see that tomorrow. Check it out on Twitter, Pack_Daddy. I'll probably be sending a bunch of that stuff out. But it goes on to say he also notched a stop against the run to round out his notable performance. So very, very good job from Mr. Lucas Van Ness. Before we get to the snap counts, which of course is very, very interesting, I want to get over to the box scores and the team stats so we can kind of highlight some of that. Looking first at the quarterbacks, obviously Jordan Love, I mean, it speaks for itself. He was 2 for 2 for 63 yards and a touchdown, 158.3 passer rating. His longest being 65 yards, 31.5 yards per attempt. Not a bad day at the office. The second best quarterback of the day was Michael Pratt. No, he didn't play as much as Sean Clifford. No, the stats aren't quite as high, but 5 of 7, 46 yards, 6.6 yards per attempt, 23 yards was his longest pass, 89 passer rating. He also had one of the best blocks of the day. It was another one of those plays that I missed because the TV over here was acting stupid, but I did go back and find that on social media. Sean Clifford getting out in front of the ball carrier, laying the wood to a guy and letting him get some extra yardage. Everything about Michael Pratt, you just got to love it. Sean Clifford, I tease because I got the whole Michael Pratt shtick going on right now, but I like Sean Clifford. I think he's a fun quarterback to watch, and I'm very, very happy to see that he has really turned things around. He threw, I don't even know how many interceptions. He must have thrown a dozen interceptions over the first week and a half, 2 weeks of training camp. He hasn't thrown one since family night, to my knowledge. He's been significantly better over practice, and then in this game, real game action, he was 10 of 19, 111 yards, 5.8 yards per attempt, 23 yards was his longest pass. He did record 1 sack, 70.3 passer rating. Is it the greatest passer rating in the world? No, but I thought he did a decent enough job. Again, with the bar being as low as it was, massive improvement. Let's leave it at that. If we're doing quarterback game balls, Jordan Love and Michael Pratt. I'm doing both. I don't care. I mean, I could technically give one to Sean Clifford for the improvement, but I'm not going to. And yes, I'm giving one to Michael Pratt for the effort, for going 5 of 7, for being basically perfect. I don't care. Oh, and by the way, one of those drops was a perfect pass, hit a guy in the hands. I don't know about the other one. But Michael Pratt was about as perfect as you can get. I don't care. Cry to your mama about it. All right, rushing. We had, holy cow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 people with rushing stats. Why? Because of all the friggin' end arounds that they did. Matt LaFleur refuses to let that go. I think it was successful once, so that's great. But number one ball carrier on the team was Emmanuel Wilson. 13 carries, 67 yards, 5.2 yards per attempt, and a touchdown. Listen, man, I don't know. It's one of those things where you always have those guys that do well in the preseason. The fans love him, and the team's like, nah, you just don't understand. Like, he's not ready or this, that, or the other. And I feel like that's Emmanuel Wilson, but and I don't know if maybe he can't block very well. Maybe he's not much of a route runner / receiver. There's a lot of questions. But I'll tell you what, as a ball carrier right now, I don't know that he is an RB2. As just a pure running back. Forget the blocking and the receiving. As a pure running back, I mean, he's ahead of Dylan. I don't care what anybody says. And the rookie, I keep saying Josh Jacobs. Anyways, you know who I'm talking about. Marshawn Lloyd hasn't really proved to be on Emmanuel Wilson's level. I mean, he's just such an impressive guy. Be nice to expand his role a little bit. Does Emmanuel Wilson get a game ball? You're absolutely right, he does. After that, the guy with the second most amount of yards and the guy that firmly planted himself on my radar. I always like the running backs further down the list, as much as I'm not like a late round, undrafted free agent, 7th round guy. Although that's obviously changing for me because there's Michael Pratt I'm a fan of, King I'm a huge fan of, whatever. But running backs, I always like the late round running backs. I don't know why. Jarvion Howard. Didn't hear his name maybe once through training camp, like at all. I see a guy in the backfield. I thought, well, maybe it's Ellis Merriweather. I figured that's probably who it was because he was the next one up on the depth chart. Nope. It was undrafted free agent rookie Jarvion Howard. I'm like, all right, let's see what this guy can do. He's 5'10", 215, decently built, et cetera, et cetera. Dude comes out, starts ripping off these big gains. I mean, granted, the things started to open up as time went on. The blocking was a little bit rough at first, started to get better as time went on. He had a little bit more room to run, but not every single time. But I think the most impressive thing, not only was he relatively quick, not only was he decisive, dude was smacking people. There's a couple people trying to come up and with these pathetic little tackles, trying to go low and just kind of throw in the shoulder. He came over and just bopped these guys right in the side of the head. Jarvion Howard, 8 carries, 44 yards, 5.5 yards per attempt. Probably the best running back of the day, all things considered. I mean, Emmanuel Wilson was 5.2. He did have a touchdown, I suppose, so you could give it to him. But man, you always look for those gems, and who knows if Jarvion is that guy or not, but everything about him got me excited. And not only that, it got me excited in a way that Emmanuel Wilson can't, because Howard seems like a Goot guy. Emmanuel Wilson does not. Now, it doesn't matter because it's more of a Matt LaFleur thing. I don't know if maybe Matt is on the same page as Goot or what. But Emmanuel Wilson is like an Aaron Jones. And remember, this organization, this regime, did not draft Aaron Jones. Not saying they didn't appreciate him or like him or want him on the team, but I think as a general rule, they don't go in that direction. And I think if you have to pick between Jarvion Howard and Emmanuel Wilson, when you're talking about a guy as powerful, seemingly, as Howard is, I wouldn't be surprised if the Packers lean into it. And the fact that he came out there, got the second most carries of anybody, and, really, nobody else did. I mean, Dylan had 4 carries for 2 yards. And again, the blocking was suspect, but it just looks bad. Everything about it looks bad. I don't know what else to say. You got guys like Wilson and Howard, they just go. Even Marshawn Lloyd, it wasn't good for him. He had 1 carry. 1 carry, it was 8 yards. and he had to evade tacklers twice. He almost got smoked at the line of scrimmage, pulls a quick move to get out of there, tries to bounce to the outside. Somebody's there. He bounces it again. He pulls a double bounce and is able to pull off 8 yards. Dillon just takes forever to make a decision. And, I think there was even one play where he bounced it to the outside, and you think, oh, that was cool. And it's like, it would have been cooler if he just didn't. Just go. I don't know. I really like Dillon as a person. I really do. I have a hard time appreciating his running style. Let's put it that way. He's too much of an upright runner. He has no power compared to the size of him. I don't like his decision making. I think he's got a little bit of a slow processor, and when he does make a decision, I think far too often it's the wrong decision. I can't get into it, man. I just can't. And for him to have 4 carries, which is the third most on the team, but to only have 0.5 yards. I mean, look, Ellis Merriweather had 2 carries for 7 yards, 3.5 yards per attempt. Howard had 8 for 44, 5.5 yards per attempt. Emmanuel Wilson, 67 yards on 13 carries, 5.2 yards per attempt, and a touchdown. Everybody else that had a carry had 1 carry, right? So even if you include Ellis, who only had 2 carries, he's at 3.5. Dillon had 4 attempts and got 2 yards, man. I don't know. I just, and the other thing that's tough about it, and I understand the Packers seemingly, I don't know, like Dillon, and obviously they appreciate his size and everything else that he contributes, and he is a solid receiver, and I think probably a decent enough blocker, which gives them a little bit of comfort, at least when they want to rotate guys in and out. You're not putting a guy like Emmanuel Wilson out there and everybody's looking saying, well, we know he's running, it's just difficult when you have guys like Emmanuel Wilson not getting playing time so that A.J. Dillon can get playing time. That makes it even more. If you had nobody else, if it was just Josh Jacobs and good Lord, my brain, A.J. Dillon, it would be much easier to accept the reality and just say we got to find, maybe another number 2 sometime. By the way, Josh Jacobs, 1 carry, 7 yards. So, it's like our number 1 guy got 7 yards per attempt. Our number 2 guy got 0.5 yards per attempt. Our number 3 guy got 8 yards per attempt. Our number 4 guy got 5.2 yards per attempt. Our number 5 guy got 5.5 yards per attempt. Our number 6 guy, Merriweather, I'm just going to assume, 3.5 yards per attempt. Which one of these doesn't fit? Everybody had a really good day. I mean, Merriweather is so-so, but everybody had a good day, except Dillon, 4 carries, 2 yards. I really just feel like Dillon is the type of guy where if you give him 25 carries, he'll probably have a decent day, because somewhere in there he'll have 2 kind of big runs. If you give him 10, though, probably not a very good day, because it's just, he's too infrequent in having his big runs. And I think it's just because he doesn't find those opportunities. The NFL, you got to be quick. And, I think some of these, like Aaron Jones was the master of masters in terms of, if there's 1,000 different ways that you can handle a situation and only 5 of them are successful, Aaron Jones will find one of those 5 out of 1,000. A.J. Dillon is like, you got to be at like 500 out of 1,000. Give me a 50-50 shot and maybe he'll find it. I don't know. Am I being too mean? I'm not trying to overreact, but I feel like we've seen it. And again, since day 1, everybody's talking up Dillon. Oh, he looks like he's in such great... the first thing that was a red flag is people said Dillon looked good, and when you're trying to figure out why, it turns out he looks ripped. Bro, come on. Don't give me that. And then everything you hear about Dillon is not great. He's not doing great in practice. I don't know. I'm just not... I'm not... And then family night, I watched him, and it's like, it just didn't feel right. He had the one play with a giant hole, and he reacted too late. Like, his one good play, it's like, you should have cut like 3 seconds ago. What are you waiting for? I don't know. I just can't do it anymore, man. I'm sorry. And look, the fact of the matter is they basically didn't pay Dillon. I mean, they gave him nothing. So it's not that outlandish for the Packers to look at it and go, bro, listen, we got Jacobs, we got Lloyd, Emmanuel Wilson needs more time, and Jarvion Howard can probably get some stuff done if we're really in a pinch. Like, we're good, you know? And maybe that's kind of, maybe A.J. Dillon's saving grace is Marshawn Lloyd being hurt. Because if you don't know what Marshawn Lloyd can do, then you go straight from Josh Jacobs to Emmanuel Wilson, and again, they might be a little concerned about his size. And maybe that's why you give a bunch of carries to Jarvion to be like, do we have a third just in case? I don't know. I'm just saying it. I really don't want to be the guy that says trade A.J. Dillon, but honestly, if you can get something for him, if you can get a 2025, pretty much anything, you know, I don't know if you can. I'll be honest. If you called around and said, would you give me a 2025 seventh for A.J. Dillon? I don't know that you get it. Just saying. Other than that, Julian Hicks had a carry for 14 yards. That was maybe the one that worked. Sean Clifford had a carry for 2 yards. Bo Melton had one for 4. Samori Toure had 1 for 1. Michael Pratt had one for -1 yards. That was probably taking a knee to end the game. And that's it. Jacobs had his 1 for 7, and Marshawn had his 1 for 8. All right. Receiving. Let's see. The most targeted. Well, let's start with this. Dontavian Wicks, 1 target. First of all, he ran 1 route, had 1 target, 1 reception, 65 yards, and a touchdown. I don't know that there's ever been a better day of football for a guy. His first time stepping out on the field, he gets a 65-yard touchdown, and he's done for the day. That's as good as it gets. I told people on Twitter, I was like, if he doesn't have 100 on PFF tomorrow, the system is broken. I don't know if they give hundreds. I've only ever seen a 99.9. I think Aaron Donald got it one time. But if they give hundreds, this is 100. I flat out. But anyways, Grant DeBose. Actually, let me pause. Game balls. Emmanuel Wilson gets a game ball. I'm gonna give one to Jarvion Howard also. I thought he was fantastic. Some of these other guys are fine, but I don't know. I mean, you can't get a game ball for 1 carry. Dontavian Wicks, on the other hand, can get a game ball for 1 carry or 1 reception. That is possible. Wicks is absolutely getting a game ball. But another guy getting a game ball, Grant DeBose, 6 targets, 5 receptions, 66 yards. 23 yards was his longest reception. This guy is looking fantastic. I'm so excited about DeBose. I remember last year kind of hoping he could be that 7th-round guy. Obviously, you talk these guys up, and he's got a little something there. Kind of reminds me of Romeo a little bit. Bigger body guy, kind of go up and get it. Good body control, et cetera, et cetera. I guess you can call it kind of like Wicks that way. Kind of in that vein, I guess. But just a great day all around. I think he had 1 drop, which is unfortunate. That would be his 5 of 6. But, man, he had that 1 catch on the sideline where he caught it and dragged both feet. I mean, this is really incredible, man. Like, again, I don't want to overreact. But I don't think I am. I mean, look, I wasn't super excited about people overreacting to Samori Toure because I didn't think Samori Toure ever really did anything special. Grant DeBose has been phenomenal through training camp and has demonstrated things. Now, listen, when you go up against NFL corners, do I think he wins consistently? Probably not. But when you got a guy that can go up and get these kind of catches, that can do those toe tap, remember to get your foot down and drag it and catch it. And that was a play. I don't know who threw that, if that was Clifford or Pratt. I think it might have been Clifford. I don't know. But, I mean, that play reminded me of that play from Aaron Rodgers against Dallas when we had Cook, or is it Cooks, the tight end? You know the play, where Rodgers basically threw it out of bounds, and he stood there and went on his toes and caught it. It was similar to that. He's rolling to his right. He throws it out of bounds, and DeBose, I mean, it was diving instead of, like, falling to your knees, but dove and dragged his feet. I mean, it was a beautiful play. It really was. Again, I don't think DeBose is going to be a wide receiver 1, but to have him as a 5, what do we got? So you got your top 4 for sure. I mean, Bo had a really bad day, and I don't want to completely cast him out, but if you're asking me today, would you take DeBose or Bo? I'm taking DeBose. I like Bo. Bo's fine. He's really, really fast. I like the guys who have the sort of the bigger body, route runner, good hands guys. I'm excited about Bo being really fast and running down the field, but especially with Christian Watson back, give me DeBose. I'm just saying. Fantastic day from DeBose. He continues what has been a fantastic training camp. I would say there's a high probability he makes the 53. It's going to be tough because you're going to have to kick off a lot of guys that were there last year and presumed to be ahead of him prior to this year. But if he just continues doing what he's doing, it's really not even a competition. He was incredible in this game. The next most targeted, you had Malik Heath. That's another guy that was ahead of him. 4 targets, 2 receptions, 22 yards. After that was Bo Melton, who, as I said, had a really bad day, several drops. Bo Melton, 4 targets, 1 reception for 12 yards. I know he had at least 2 drops. I can't say if all 3 of the incompletions were drops or not, but certainly 2 of the 3. After that, you had Joel Wilson, 3 targets, 3 receptions, 30 yards. Solid day for him. Then you had Samori Toure, 2 targets, 1 reception, 8 yards. Everybody else was 1 target, including Dontavian Wicks, obviously. You had Julian Hicks, 1 target, 1 reception, 23 yards. If you're going to have 1, make it that. Marshawn Lloyd, 1 target, 1 reception, 1 yard. That must have been what Matt LaFleur was talking about with his 2 carries, I guess. Josh Jacobs, 1 target, 1 reception, -2 yards. Ellis Merriweather, 1 target, 1 reception, -5 yards. Jalen Wayne, 1 target, 0 reception, 0 yards. So I'm going to stick to the 2 game balls at receiver, Dontavian Wicks and Grant DeBose. All right, let's take a break, and we'll come back, look at defense, special teams, and then some team stats, and then we'll probably get up out of here. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Want to teach your kids financial literacy, but not sure where to start? Greenlight can help. With Greenlight, parents can keep an eye on kids' spending and saving, while kids and teens use a card of their own to build money confidence. As a parent, you can send instant money transfers, set up chores, automate allowance, and more. It's a convenient way to run your household, customized to your family's needs, and the easy way to raise financially smart kids. Get started with Greenlight today and get your first month free at greenlight.com/Spotify.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
All right, so as far as defense goes, I mean, man, certainly could give out several game balls here as well. Lucas Van Ness being one of them. 3 targets. I'm still on offensive mode. 3 tackles. All 3 were solo tackles. He had 1 sack, 3 tackles for a loss in this game. Another guy that absolutely deserves a game ball. I thought he was fantastic. Forced a fumble. Several tackles coming downfield. Just really, really disruptive in this game. 6 tackles, all 6 being solo, led the team in solo tackles, led the team in tied with Raylan Goforth and Christian Welch in tackles, but all 6 being solo. He led the team in solo tackles. 6 tackles, 6 solo tackles, and a forced fumble. Evan Williams absolutely had a great day. Christian Welch also, you notice, I mean, again, tied with the most tackles. He was around a lot. I couldn't necessarily say enough to officially give him a game ball, but I thought, he put his name on the map for sure, just for being around a lot. So good day for him. Again, Raylan Goforth also topped in tackles with 6. And then after that was Isaiah McDuffie. And interestingly, I want to look at this real quick. How many snaps did McDuffie actually even get? Oh, no, he actually had a lot. Okay, fair enough. He had 24 snaps, which was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th most. I want to make sure we get to snap counts. I'm not going to go through everybody, but it is interesting to look at who gets a lot and who doesn't. People that don't get a lot of snaps are either starters or guys that are about to get cut. That's generally the way that works, and it's good to see who also is getting a ton of time out on the field. I was kind of surprised to see McDuffie had that many. I thought they kind of pulled him early, but I guess not. All right. Sacks on the day. Again, Lucas Van Ness had 1. Colby Wooden had one. He was also quite disruptive. He had 1 sack and 1 tackle for a loss. And then the final sack went to Spencer Wagee. He had 1 tackle, and it, I'm assuming is the same play, it was a sack. Tackles for a loss, there were only 4 in this game. Lucas Van Ness had 3 of them, Colby Wooden with the other one. Forced fumble, as I said, came by way of Evan Williams. Didn't have any interceptions, didn't have any touchdowns, but pass deflections. Robert Rochelle had 1. Aaron Mosby had 1. I thought Mosby actually had a pretty good day coming off the edge. Towards the end of the game, you're getting down to the 3rd string, 4th string, whatever. Mosby kept popping off. Now, he wasn't getting to the quarterback fast enough, but his ability to beat the guy in front of him I thought was pretty impressive. Eric Wilson had a pass deflection. I think Wilson had there was a play or two in there that were pretty disappointing, I remember, but you talk about a guy that was around a lot. I just remember seeing Eric Wilson a ton. They blitzed him a bunch. It was kind of fun to watch. And then Christian Young also had a pass deflection. So 1, 2, 3, 4 different pass deflections on the day. Special teams on kick return, Emmanuel Wilson had 1 kick return for 28 yards. I would say that that's fantastic, but it's kind of hard to say these days with the new kick return rules. The way I always used to look at it is if you can get 25 yards per return, you're a pretty good kick returner. And, I mean, that's kind of the cap, because if you do more than that, they just kick it out of the end zone. I think that's going to be the same here. It just moves to the 30. So if you can get to 30 now, then you're a pretty good kick returner. He's at 28. But it's hard to know because it seems like a lot of guys are getting to that 25-30. The other thing, and I may have mentioned this before, and I kind of like this. I know some people are kind of complaining about it. The other thing that I like about this, if for no other reason, I don't know if there's going to be any more big kick returns. There was almost a touchdown I saw. I think there's going to be less short fields or being pinned back by your end zone, because that used to happen pretty regularly. There would be times when people would take it out, and by the time they grab it, somebody's already basically down there, and they'll get smoked at the 5 or 10 yard line. And again, if you could get to the 20, 25, the 20 was kind of standard. If you can get to the 25, you feel pretty good about it. It feels like now it's basically impossible that somebody's going to get stopped at the 10. It seems like if you can stop them at the 20 or 25, you did a pretty good job. You got down there pretty fast. So it's just going to be better for the offense. It's going to be more offensive scoring. So the NFL is going to love that in general. But I'm just excited about it because it is freaking demoralizing, especially for a team that generally doesn't have very good special teams. When you have a good quarterback, you got a good offensive play card, you got all that stuff, but you're starting at the 9 yard line. It's just demoralizing. And you kind of feel like you're playing this field position game where it's like, let's just get us some breathing room. So if we punt it, hopefully we can bang it all the way back there and kind of get some breathing room, because this is ridiculous. You're just trying to dig your way out of this thing. So if you're starting pretty consistently from the 30 yard line, you got to feel good about that. And if Emmanuel Wilson or whoever else can end up digging you out to at least the 30 again, they're just going to kick it into the end zone. It's interesting because they moved it to the 30 thinking, well, that'll discourage people from doing that. I don't think so. I think there's going to be a lot of guys that can get it to the 30 consistently, and they're just going to kick it into the end zone because the risk, this guy is consistently getting it to the 30, but there's a very high risk that he's going to get it to the 40 or the 50 or worse. So just give it to him on the 30. I think that's going to be a thing. So we'll see. That's kind of the goal. Get a guy that can get it consistently to the 30 or beyond, and then you'll probably start at the 30 every single time. Samori Toure, 2 punt returns, 21 yards, 10.5 average, 14 was the long. Those are the only 2 returners that we had. Emmanuel Wilson on kick, Samori Toure on punt. Daniel Whelan, 2 punts, 91 yards, 45.5 average, pinned 1 inside the 20. His longest was 51 yards. Kickers were perfect on the day. Anders Carlson, 2 for 2 and 1 for 1 on extra points. 46 yards was his longest field goal. Greg Joseph also perfect. 1 for 1 on field goals, 1 for 1 on extra points. 35 yards was his longest field goal. And Corey Bajorquez was on the other side, which is pretty funny. Although at this point, we've had so many punters and kickers, half the league is fielded by ex-Packers, so whatever. All right, real quick, let's rip through some of the team stats here. Time of possession was pretty close to even, 29.5 for the Packers, 30.5 for the Cleveland Browns. However, we ran more plays, 63 compared to 56. We got significantly more yards, 375 to 244. By the way, it wasn't just the offense doing a good job. Again, 23 points was pretty good. We held them to 3 for almost the entire game until the very end. They were able to punch it in and get to 10. offense and defense doing a really good job. So, again, 375 is great. Holding them to 244 is also great. Yards per play, us 6, them 4.4. Penalties, the team only had 3 penalties, and 2 of them were on offensive linemen, I remember, because I remember thinking Dillard and Royce Newman both jumped off sides. Now, if there's 2 players that should not be doing that, at least for the sake of fans not hating them, because they already are in the doghouse of fans, both of those guys end up jumping off sides. 4 for the Cleveland Browns. 11 total yards for the Packers, 25 for the Cleveland Browns. Touchdowns, 2 compared to 1. Field goals, we were 3 for 3. They were 1 for 1. Turnovers, Packers did not turn over the ball. They did create a turnover, though, which, by the way, again, for a defense that has been training for this, drilling for this, practicing this, trying to make takeaways a big thing, so far in these games, they're 1-0, right? And it is a big deal, right? We always rag on these teams like, oh, yeah, you got a good defense, but it's all based on turnovers. Well, that kind of implies, it's implicit in that turnovers kind of make you a really good defense. So if you can practice that and try to increase the amount of turnovers, obviously how good of a defense you are goes up pretty significantly. So glad to see that right out of the gate we end up getting one, and it's one of our rookies doing it. Felt real good. Completion percentage, Packers 60.7, Cleveland 75%, so they did beat us on that. However, we had 220 yards compared to their 188. Packers 7.9 yards per passing attempt, them 5.9. Yards per completion, we were at 12.9. They were at 7.8. Sacks, the Packers were only sacked once. They were sacked 3 times, so 3.4%. As bad as our offensive line was, or as worried as we were about it, only 3.4% of snaps ended in a sack. For Cleveland, however, 8.6% of their snaps ended in a sack. Again, our offense held up. Our defense did their job as well. Sack yards lost, Packers 0, Cleveland 17. Passer rating for the Packers was 97.3. It was 89.7 for the Cleveland Browns. Rushing the ball, this is even better. 34 attempts for the Packers, 21 for Cleveland. 155 yards for us, 56 for them. Remember, this defense sucks at stopping the run, historically. I'm not saying they're going to be good. It's just preseason. I get it. But it's been a real big fingers crossed that we can really improve this area that has struggled for such a long time. We ran the ball for 155 yards. In this game, they ran the ball for 56 yards. That's it, 56. When was the last time the Packers gave up 56 rushing yards? 4.6 yards per carry for the Packers, which is very respectable. 2.7 for Cleveland. 2.7 yards per attempt. Incredible. Both had 1 rushing touchdown. First down, Packers won 18-16. Third down efficiency, the Packers were 57%, Browns were 46%. Fourth down efficiency, Packers were 50%, Cleveland was 33%. Red zone percentage, they actually beat us 50% to 25%, but again, efficiency, I think the Packers did a really good job. Pass deflections, Packers had 4, Cleveland had 1. Forced fumbles, Packers 1, Cleveland 0. Fumbles recovered, Packers 1, Cleveland 0. So pretty dominant performance across the board for the Green Bay Packers. It's how you end up with 23-10. You just got to feel good about everything. I mean, with a couple minor exceptions, you kind of wish, you wish Bo had a little better job, and he'll have better days, and he'll be at the top of everybody's list if he's going to be great, and that's awesome. I look forward to that. But, I mean, aside from, again, some really minor things, I thought the offensive line stepped up. I'm excited to see Sean Ryan's blocking grade, to be honest. In fact, let's do this. Let's look at a couple little points from the snaps, and then I want to go through the roster just to make sure I don't miss anybody. But just while I'm on the topic, Sean Ryan, I don't know exactly how good of a job he did, but I know a lot of people were calling him out for doing a really good job during the game. And then one of the bigger runs of the day, that kind of reminiscent of the Packers sweep that was being highlighted online, Clayton actually reposted it because at the very end, not only was Sean Ryan the lead blocker, but Emmanuel Wilson just holds onto his jersey, and Sean Ryan kind of drags him for a couple of yards. It was hilarious. I saw Emmanuel Wilson actually retweeted that one. But as far as snap counts, let's start with the offense. Jacob Monk with the most snaps, which is really awesome because, I mean, it's a guy that we need to see from. Another guy we really need to see, Sean Ryan. We can go down the line from there, but it's Jacob Monk with 56. Big drop-off, Sean Ryan, 48. Big drop-off, Bo Melton, 39, and then just a lot, Royce 38, Sean Clifford 38, Kadeem 38. So the top two, like the most snaps by a lot, Jacob Monk and Sean Ryan. So very excited to see how those guys did. Hopefully it went well. Again, they need a lot of work. We need to see from Jacob Monk. He needs the snaps. Sean Ryan potentially starting this year. We'll see what happens with Morgan. Not only in terms of how good he is, but with his injury situation going on. So he needs the opportunities. On the bottom side of that, obviously, again, you got the starters. Dontavian Wicks, 1 snap. Watson, 2. Reed, 2. Myers, 3, et cetera, et cetera. Some of the guys that are kind of low that maybe need the snaps in terms of if they're getting a solid look from the team. You got, Jalen Wayne, Messiah Swinson, Ellis Merriweather. They really didn't get a lot of opportunities. And, these are guys that we know are long shots to begin with. But at the same time, if the team is not really giving them opportunities, it's one of the first things I do when I look at cut downs, who's going to be getting cut next. You look at guys that are getting the least amount of opportunities, and those are usually the first to go. On the defensive side, Raylan Goforth actually had the most. He had 39. After that was Kalen King. He did play quite a bit. I was excited to see it. It was actually kind of cool on the stream. I looked up his number. I think it's 34. I'm like, all right, look for 34 or 37. Look for 34 on the field. That's my guy, Kalen King. And so I'm like, well, he plays in the slot. I find him. First play, he comes up and tackles a guy in the backfield. I think it was a run play or a screen pass or something like that. I can't remember. But I thought Kalen King actually had a pretty solid day. I don't know if it's good enough for a game ball, especially since he didn't really make that big of a mistake. But still, kind of iffy. But I was happy to see him out there. I thought he did a really good job. But Goforth number 1, which is kind of surprising to me. Giving him a real legit shot to go out and kind of prove what he can do. Maybe the fact that he's an undrafted free agent, a rookie this year, is part of that. Wanting to get an actual solid, legit look at the guy. But either way, kind of interesting. It'll be interesting to see how he grades out. Might be another guy to kind of put on our radar, or that was his shot and he blew it. We'll see. Again, Kalen King getting the second most snaps. Really excited to see how he grades out because, again, I'm a huge fan of Kalen King. So kind of my 2 big guys coming in is Pratt and King. But thought he did a good job. I'm not going to be biased and give him a game ball, but I thought he did a good job. Anthony Johnson Jr. with the second most amount of snaps. He had one really, really, really good play and one really, really, really bad play. So the good play, he came downhill, blew up an offensive lineman, and helped blow up a play in the backfield. I think it was on a run. I mean, just sort of this new Halfley style of just getting downfield and blowing things up. I mean, it's just like sticks of dynamite everywhere, trying to get anywhere. It's so disruptive, and he did a great job of bringing that vision of a defense to life. Unfortunately, the only other vision I have of Anthony Johnson is having a very clear shot on a guy to make a tackle, and he hit the guy and basically just bounced off. And I know these things happen. I'm sure every one of our favorite football players have had moments like that. We've seen Rashawn do it. We've seen Jair do it. We've seen everybody do it. But still, especially when you've got Bullard, who really didn't get a lot of snaps, go out and make some plays. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was up on the graphic. How many snaps did Bullard have here? 1 second. Please hold. Bullard, 20 snaps. So it was actually a little bit higher than I expected. But he came down with, I think, 2 tackles on 20 different attempts. When was he out there? Because Evan Williams felt like he was out there the whole time. Maybe Bullard was just a little bit more quiet. But I know Bullard was making his impact, his presence known. Evan Williams with 23 snaps, also definitely making his presence known. To go out there to get the most opportunities at safety and to kind of blow it a little bit is not the greatest. Oladapo did not play in this game. I know he's been dealing with some injury stuff. I think he's pretty much back, but I'm guessing the Packers just held him out. One of the guys in the comment section when I mentioned that said he was not on the list of people to not play, but he did not register any snaps. So least amount of snaps was 4. Those were for starters. Rashawn Kenny and Preston had 4, and then they got pulled. After that was Kenneth Odumegwu, which I wouldn't necessarily say is a bad thing because I think he still has an exception, number 1, plus he has the least familiarity with football. The other is Benny Sapp. So not saying, just saying. Quay Xavier also had a low amount with 8, and then Brevin Allen with 8. So some other guys to kind of just if you were to sort it in your mind of kind of where these guys fall, Benny kind of goes to the back of the line, which I probably wouldn't have had I not seen this. Again, Brevin Allen would be another one. L.J. Davis, Zach Morton, guys like that didn't necessarily have the best of opportunities, I guess. But I just want to do a once-over real quick, just make sure I didn't miss anybody. Again, didn't really get to see Christian or Jaden. I mean, literally didn't see him because those guys were done by the time I even got the game on. Dontavian Wicks, obviously fantastic. Bo Melton, one of the few guys that didn't have a super good day. Grant DeBoe's stock through the roof if it wasn't already. I think he leapfrogged Samori Toure, potentially Bo Melton, and probably Malik Heath. Maybe that's an overreaction, but he could potentially be wide receiver 5 right now. Some people say that's automatic, but I tend to work a lot slower because I think the Packers do. As much as fans just go immediately to, he looks better, he's better, make him the guy. I mean, it's no different than we knew last year Emmanuel Wilson was a better runner than A.J. Dillon. What difference did that make last year? None, right? Even today, Emmanuel Wilson was not ahead of anybody who he clearly runs better than. So, anyways, offensive line, again, I can't give specific kudos because I don't know who is doing what. Saw a lot of guys in a lot of different places, but I guess I'll tip my hat to Sean Ryan and Jacob Monk, if for no other reason than the offensive line, number one, did a better job than expected with blocking. Again, just 1 sack on the day. Running was a little rough early, but later on got better, and those two guys took the most amount of snaps. Also, those two guys did not get penalties, unlike Dillard and Royce Newman. Not that 100% means anything. We'll get a better idea when the grades come out, but I'll start with that, give them a shout-out. Tight ends, interestingly enough, I think the only guy I can kind of tip my hat to was Joel Wilson. He ended up, I think he made 2 different plays. The only reason he stands out in my mind is because he made a play, and my son said, "Who is 82?" And, of course, I try to pretend I know what I'm doing. I real quick Control F and try to find him on my Our Lads thing here. Joel Wilson is 82, the tight end for the Green Bay Packers. And then later on, he makes a pretty big play down the left sideline. So I know he was in there with Messiah Swinson not getting any snaps and the starters not really being out there. He kind of stood out to me as the tight end of the day. Quarterbacks we covered pretty in-depth, as we did with running back as well. Defensive line in general just did a fantastic job, really just suffocating up front, which is great to see. Devontae Wyatt, there's a guy that I forgot. Devontae Wyatt did not play a lot of snaps. He was kind of low on the list of snaps, but man, was he disruptive. The one play in particular, I remember they showed a replay of his pressure up the middle. He was double-teamed, and he fought right through that double team and got up the middle. Great day. I thought Brooks and Wooden had a good day. Jonathan Ford made at least one big play that I saw. And, of course, Clark and Slayton are a part of that as well. Again, didn't get to see Gary or Smith or Clark all that much, but, overall, the defensive line was great. Van Ness was incredible. Brenton Cox, I was a big fan of. He did have one big miss. He had the guy dead to rights. Granted, he's kind of a mobile quarterback. He had a really impressive year last year. I want to say he was with the Patriots or something. He's got a hyphenated last name. I can't remember who he is, but I know I believe he was a rookie last year and was actually really impressive. So I think it was kind of a tough line. I'm throwing out a ton of excuses for our guys here, but Brenton Cox I thought was disruptive off the edge, even if it didn't necessarily show up as much on the stat sheet. Linebackers, I wish we would have seen Tyron Hopper or Edgerrin Cooper, but we didn't. McDuffie, we already talked about, had a good day. Eric Wilson was around a lot. I think he had some good, some bad mixed in. Aaron Mosby, as I mentioned, it seemed like they had him off the edge. He's listed here as a linebacker, but if I'm not mistaken, he was coming off the edge. Again, doesn't have a ton of speed getting off the edge, but he beat his guy consistently. Cornerbacks, I thought, looked real solid for the most part. Eric Stokes didn't play a lot, but he had a big play in that game, which was great to see. Robert Rochelle was all over the place. His name kept popping up like crazy. He is listed on this as the number one guy behind Jair. Obviously, Valentine would be the next man up, but it's not impossible that Rochelle is that next guy if you have Nixon and Ballantyne and Kalen all at nickel. Entirely possible that Robert Rochelle is that guy, and maybe there's a spot on the 53 form. If not, probably going to if he continues this, lock up a practice squad spot. And again, safeties, I was over the moon excited about. Bullard, I thought, was fantastic. Evan Williams, I thought, was fantastic. Anthony Johnson Jr., again, a play or two that weren't great, but he also came in with a highlight reel level play, which was solid. Again, Benny Sapp, who's listed ahead of Tyler Coyle and Zane Anderson on here, given the snap counts, I'm not so sure about that, especially with Oladapo presumably going to be getting much more opportunities whenever he comes back. Zane Anderson, I remember coming in on a play. So, I don't know. I'm not so sure about that. Kickers, great job. Basically perfect. Anders Carlson, great job. Greg Joseph did a great job. Alex Hale did not get any opportunities, which is not great for him. You would think that maybe let him kick an extra point or something, but I guess not. And Daniel Whelan, great job as a punter. Returners, I thought, did a great job, punt and kick. So, yeah, I mean, really, if I had to pick the guys that didn't do a good job, I mean, it's really just Bo Melton, to be honest. And, again, I think he's a good football player. I like Bo, but wasn't his best day. And then, again, Royce Newman and who the heck was it? Oh, Dillard with the penalties. Other than that, I mean, I just struggle. I struggle to look at anybody that I thought that was just flat out, like, frustratingly bad on the day. It was a good game, good all-around effort. I think the team's got to be really happy with what happened. I think they put on a lot of good tape. I'm excited to get to hear from Matt LaFleur and some of the guys about how they thought it went. Matt LaFleur presumably already spoke, but I haven't listened to that yet. And we'll get some PFF grades and everything and further figure this out. But real good first effort. Hopefully we get to see Hopper and Cooper and Oladapo and a little bit more Marshawn Lloyd, et cetera, as we move on. And no offense to my guy Clifford, who I'm grateful for, I think it's getting to be time that Pratt gets some more opportunities. You know, if he's not going to get that number 2 spot, fine, but he should be getting more than he's getting. That's all I'm going to say. Anyways, man, football is back. Very, very happy, very excited. Don't want to stop the podcast, but I have to. I said it was going to be a short one, and then I just couldn't stop talking. But I do have to get out of here. You guys have a great rest of your day. I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.
This summer, enjoy less sunscreen smell and more new car smell. Make room for more than just memories with a Lexus SUV. Find offers on select SUVs at the Lexus Golden Opportunity Sales Event.
Lease the 2025 NX250 for $442 a month for 36 months with $39.99 due at signing.
Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.
Call 1-800-USA-LEXUS for important lease cash offer and pricing details. Restrictions apply. Not all customers will qualify. Offer available in the southern areas only. In September 3rd, 2024.